Hi, Callie.
Hey,
How are you?
good. How are you?
Good.
Hi, good morning, everybody.
Morning, Rob.
Good
Morning.
Hi, everybody. Let me just do this.
I like the chops.
All right. This PB
awesome.
meeting is brought to you by Yosemite Sam.
Oh, that's awesome.
It's the Easter Bunny. He gets me every year. All right, let me do this. Now, what are we doing here? There we go. Okay, we got 4 people here. Well, it's 10 o'clock off with the win. How's everybody's Easter?
Good.
It's good. We are, my wife and I are currently in South Dakota. Long
Really?
story,
Okay.
we got a phone call Thursday evening from our adoption counselor, and they had a birth mother that was giving birth this weekend. And
Okay.
sure enough, she picked us in the profile, and we hightailed it to South Dakota, and now we're loving on a little baby girl. So,
Are you serious? Wow, that is amazing. Congratulations, Dad.
thanks, man. It's surreal. It's crazy.
Oh, wow.
Holy cow. That is, what a story. That's an Easter miracle. That is
Easter miracle, yeah.
amazing.
So we're just we're riding the really big
I love
wave
it.
right now. So yeah, it's awesome.
Holy cow. That's awesome.
Cool. Well, congratulations to you and your wife. And what is do you have a name?
Yeah, it's Finley Hope Kiker.
Oh, that's
Wow,
pretty.
that's awesome.
So we're gonna be
Well,
here probably for
congratulations
another
again,
couple, probably for another week or so, because both judges have to sign off on the paperwork for us to be able to bring her across state lines. So
Okay.
we're gonna be here for a while. So we're bunkered down in the B&B right now. So we're just kind of hanging out and learning how to be parents.
Wow. So
Dude,
cool.
man, that's awesome. You have like a permanent smile on your face right now, and it's really cool to see
It's
that.
crazy. Overwhelming. It's a feeling that I never thought existed. If that makes sense.
You never thought you could love a person so much, huh?
No, not at all.
That is awesome. All right, does anybody else have any good stories that they want to share? Any other wins that they've had? You have birds chirping in the background. Well, my family and I, we had a nice Easter as well. My dad and my mom, they wanted to come over, but they didn't. So early morning, Dad dropped off a bottle of champagne and some ice cream and root beer. So we had root beer floats and a bottle of champagne first thing when we woke up. And we did a Zoom meeting with the family as well, too. So everybody's faced that way. We did a Zoom cheers. It's not the same, but hey, the champagne still tastes good no matter where you're at.
Working.
All right. So today's meeting, I wanted to mention, just a reminder, don't forget that the office is going to reimburse you when you do a $30 Facebook ad through Command. So keep that in mind. That's just another way for you to generate and get some leads. Put that in, so you'll get a $30 rebate back from the office. So it's like free advertising. I suggest you guys try and do that if anybody's done some sort of sponsored ad. You can either do a listing, show yourself, show your face, show your services, but do some sort of ad where you can try and generate some leads and try and get in front of some people. Because I know PJ is going to be talking about internet later on today as well. So keep that in mind. You have that opportunity for you. All right. So yesterday there was there was an addendum from the North Carolina Realtors, and I'm going to share that with you guys. I'll pull up the addendum so we can just talk about them. All right, does everybody see this? The new on-site preview addendum?
Yes.
Okay, so this was released yesterday. And so really just showing that my firm is located in an area where there's a stay-at-home order restricting showings of listed properties. I have several attorneys drafted forms that make it possible for the buyer and seller to put a property under contract sight unseen and give the buyer a short period of time to then conduct an on-site visual inspection of the property before deciding whether to continue with the transaction. This would be a helpful form for my agents to be able to offer to clients. And I was wondering if the North Carolina Realtors is giving consideration to a form like that. So this would be effective for Mecklenburg County, where you're restricted and you have the stay-at-home order and where you're restricted for showings. This on-site preview addendum, it's Form 75, and it's an addendum to the offer to purchase. It's basically for the situation where the buyer's ability to conduct an on-site preview of the property is prohibited or impacted by the local, state, or federal stay-at-home order. And using this allows the buyer to, so here it is, basically a summary. The seller and the buyer agree that the buyer will have the right to conduct an on-site visual inspection or a preview of the property through 5 p.m. on agreed upon date called the on-site preview period. Right, so this is not the due diligence. This is really just paying to get into the property. And since this is new, I figured, what's the price? What's that going to be? You know, I was thinking I would imagine it's probably going to be much less than what a due diligence fee is. Because really, this fee is allowing the buyer to terminate without losing any other money. So just keep in mind that this form is going to allow you to do an on-site preview period. That's going to have this, when you do that on-site period or that preview period, the people are going to be gone. So in exchange for the right, the buyer agrees to pay the seller an agreed upon amount called the on-site preview fee. The feeable is paid when the contract is signed and must be delivered to the seller before the buyer conduct the preview. The on-site preview fee is non-refundable. However, if the buyer does go forward, it is applied towards the purchase price of the property. Prior to the end of the on-site preview period, the buyer has the right to terminate the contract by written notice to the seller that the buyer has decided to not continue the contract. If the buyer timely terminates the contract, it'll be null and void, and neither party will have any further rights or obligations under the contract. And if the buyer chooses to proceed with the contract, no notice is required. then the due diligence fee is payable no later than the expiration of the on-site preview period. And the initial earnest money deposit is payable to the seller upon the expiration of the on-site period or within 5 days. Okay, so other than the fact that the delivery of the due diligence and the EMD are tied to the end of the on-site preview period, rather than the effective date of the contract between the parties will work in exactly the same way it would without an on-site preview addendum attached, assuming that the buyer chooses not to terminate the contract prior to the end of the on-site preview period. All right, so essentially what this is saying is you make an offer sight unseen from doing a virtual tour, looking at it on Google Earth. And this on-site preview period is prior to delivering a due diligence period and earnest money. So in my eyes, I would say that it might be something as low as like $50. What were you thinking it might be? Any ideas of what your opinions you think it would be? Anybody?
50 sounds about right. I think it just makes sense.
Yeah, 50 sounds good.
I mean, I don't think it would be, because it's allowing you to walk out, but it's also, it's keeping you from not losing that due diligence. I know the due diligence money it ranges from depending on the price of the house. So that might be a factor as well too. But again, it's just giving you that opportunity to back out. And if you're going to do it in a timely period within that on-site preview period, which would be negotiated, which would just be basically setting up a showing. Does anybody really have any questions about this? I'm going to pull up the document now so we can take a look at what the document looks like.
Rob, so you would still write this up as a normal contract with this attached,
Correct.
Essentially
Yep.
saying you still have your due diligence, your earnest money, your purchase price, but you would also have this attached to it. It's essentially what it is, correct? I mean, just
Correct. Yes, absolutely. That's what my understanding as well. So here it is right here. The on-site, here it is. It's made an addendum of the offer to purchase. And you're just buyer and seller are agreeing that the buyer's ability to conduct, oops. Let me get that back. Whoops. The addendum. All right, here we go. So it's acknowledging the buyer's ability to conduct an on-site visual inspection or preview has been prohibited. So here it is. The buyer and seller agreed that to deliver the seller of the on-site preview fee described in the paragraph 2 of this addendum, the buyer shall have the opportunity through 5 p.m. on what's given date. Here's the on-site and preview inspection fee. In consideration for the right, the buyer shall pay the seller a non-refundable fee in the amount of, and there's our money again. The on-site preview fee shall be payable and delivered to the seller by the effective date of the contract and shall be a credit to the buyer at the seller. Seller shall have the right to terminate the contract in accordance with the procedure set forth in paragraph 1 of the contract if the buyer fails to timely deliver the on-site preview fee. This is also saying that you can do a wire transfer. So I would imagine if it says wire transfer, you probably would be able to do Venmo or PayPal. Other than that, you'd probably maybe do a cash or personal check where that would be delivered to the property prior to the show, prior to when you're actually going to go over there. Maybe drop it in the mailbox or something. So if the buyer decides not to proceed with the contract, whether or not the buyer has exercised the buyer's on-site preview rights, the buyer must notify the seller in writing the buyer's decision not to proceed with the contract prior to the end of the on-site preview period. Time is of the essence. So that means there's a time that you have to come up to, or you have to be by 5 p.m. Upon buyer's notification of decision not to proceed, the contract will become null and void, and the seller shall retain the on-site preview fee, neither party will have any rights. If the buyer fails to notify the seller in writing prior to the end of the on-site preview period, that the buyer has decided not to proceed with the contract, the buyer and seller acknowledges and understands the contract shall remain in full force in effect according to its terms, except as specifically modified by this addendum. Notwithstanding with the due diligence fee, if the buyer decides to proceed with the contract, then the due diligence fee shall be paid and delivered to the seller and the same with the earnest money deposit, and that must be delivered within 5 days. There we go. And then the last page is this where it's signatures, buyer and sellers. And page 3 is your acknowledgement. So this is like page 14 of the offer to purchase, where the seller acknowledges they got the preview fee and the listing agent. So you would most likely you're sending over an offer to purchase, and this is the addendum, and you're going to put your on-site preview fee and the date of when you're going to go. And if you decide you're going to go forward, then you'll deliver the due diligence fee and the earnest money deposit, but that's already going to be approved. So this preview fee, I would imagine this is not going to be for a long period of time. Maybe a couple of days or whatever it is can be to get you over inside to see the property. Because technically you'll be under contract, right? So even if you live in Mecklenburg County, you'll have an offer to purchase signed with this addendum, and then the property is technically under contract, so you can set up an on-site preview going over to the property because it's under contract. You can do that in Mecklenburg County. Go over to the property, and if you decide not to go forward, then they only lose the preview fee. If the buyer does decide to go forward, then everything starts going in order again, and you would kick in the due diligence fee and the earnest money deposit will be due. Pretty straightforward. It's just another one extra step to try and have deals go through, since you can't show properties in Mecklenburg County, or you can only do a virtual showing. It's difficult to get inside or for buyers to make that decision. Now, it's possible, but this is just another extra step that's going to give that buyer that extra step. Hey, let's make the offer. We've seen the virtual tour. We've seen the pictures. You've driven by. We've looked on Google Earth. We've seen all the disclosures. We've seen what the property history is. Let's make an offer, and then we'll go and see it tomorrow at 4. And you know what? If we don't like it, well, you're only going to lose the $50 for going in there. So it's really just another way to prepare to protect your buyer, to encourage them. Let's still do business. Let's still keep going forward.
I think that's pretty huge for buyers. That would, like you said, just give them a ton of confidence in purchasing, or even if they're kind of half gun shy about pulling the trigger.
Exactly. I mean, even if say we didn't have this, I mean, you can sometimes use that script. Hey, let's make the offer. We do a low due diligence fee. You know, if we don't like the property or something, you know, you lose the due diligence fee and we're out. Okay, no problem. You're right. Now it's just that extra level of confidence. Hey, we've only seen it virtually. Let's still make an offer. Let's go look at it tomorrow once we're under contract. And worst thing is, if we don't like it, you lose the showing fee. Who cares? So you're right. It's just an extra level of confidence.
Yeah, $50 is better than 500.
Right. Exactly. Now, I'm just thinking, because since it came out yesterday, I don't know what people are going to start with. Mm-hmm. I wouldn't imagine it's going to be too high, but then again, it's going to be some sort of fee where a buyer and seller are going to agree to it. So, right. It's just another level of protection. Let's encourage business to still go on, and you're still protected. All right. So there's our addendum that came out yesterday. So use that there. Let's talk about the next two things I wanted to go over. So now, every time that I've created that new command, the file submission checklist. Let me pull it up here. this open. So we're gonna talk about where to find a register of deeds. So last week I did the command file submission checklist. So every time you get a new listing, these are the documents that you need to put in order to get in compliance. And one of the items is your deed, proof of authority to sell. So a lot of people say, well, where do I find the deed? How do I get that property? How do I get that document? And I'm going to show you. Let me get out of this here. All right, this form. Can everybody see this near? I'm going to make this form available to all the agents in our office, and I'll make it a little bit prettier as well too. But really, it's just a click. Each county has their own website and a place to get the deed. When you go to, so I did Iredell County here, and I'll walk you through Iredell County. Since it's a PDF, it should open up each document and take us through. So has anybody had any problems trying to find deeds or anything like that as a part of making your file or completing a file? Anybody had any listings where they had to find the deed? All right, let me show you real quick here, Iredell County, just the Register of Deeds, and I'll send out the form showing each step by step on how to get to from Iredell to Mecklenburg and Cabarrus County. But when you go to Iredell County, we'll want to look for the Register of Deeds. And you see as the Register of Deeds, it clicks up. We want to look for our land records. All right. Right here, we're going to look for a record search. Record search in Iredell County. Here they're going to come in. You're going to pull up to the Iredell County Register of Deeds. We're just going to click over here and sign in as a guest. Sign in as a guest. It shows right here. Here's our name. Just shows it because we're looking for real estate, which is the Register of Deeds. I'm going to put the last name and the first name. Click search. There's the name. There's the name of the person that you have. You want to click the name. There's my name. This is my dad's name. Robert Pettit Jr. You're going to click Get Documents. When you click Get Documents, there it is. They just pop up. It says the deed of trust, what it is, the date of when the most recent deed. You're going to look over here to the right where it says Images. When you click Images, the actual deed of trust pops up. Deed of trust. Look at that. Then at the top, you can save it as a PDF or select it and download it as a PDF. And once you download it as a PDF, you'll be able to upload it into Command. All right. How easy was that? That's Iredell County. Let's look at the Mecklenburg County one. This one's a little bit more different. But Mecklenburg County, same thing. Mecklenburg Register of Deeds. Mecklenburg County, they have their own website. Come in here, record search. It takes you to another page. Click here to acknowledge the disclaimer. Up here, we're looking at real estate. Click real estate, and it's going to say search real estate index. All right, so someone's last name, you put their last name, Smith. And what type of document are we looking for? We are looking for a deed. Search. So this is all the Smiths in Mecklenburg County that that are looking for a deed. If you know the person's, obviously you'll know the person's name, first and last name, so you can search by that. I didn't have a specific property, but these are all the deeds for the properties with people with the last name of Smith. Same thing comes up, you have the deed, you can just click view. And there you go, there's the North Carolina special warranty deed. You can save it, just download it, save the image, and once you do that, you can save that and upload that to your document, to your file when you get a new listing. So I'll send out this form, and then we also did Cabarrus County, same thing, pretty much the same system. But I'll send this out. I'll kind of make this form a little bit easier, so it's just a real good cheat sheet for you for deeds, how to go to their websites and define the deed for your specific property. I'll do the same thing also. The next PB meeting, I'll do a cheat sheet for where you find septic permits. That's because that's also another form that's required on your command file checklist. If you get a new listing, these are the requirements of what you need to do, all your forms, in addition to your square footage, seller net sheet, septic permit, deed, and that information there. All right. Anybody have any questions about how to get deeds, or any questions? Really, that's all I have really much for the rest of this meeting here today. Anybody have any questions or hurdles or any other things that they've been going over, or something that they want to share with the group?
I have a question. If, say we put a house under contract as a buyer's agent, what is the stipulations for viewing? Like, how many people are you allowed to enter the house with them, and what is the procedure for it?
Okay, so that you're gonna have to follow the guidelines for social distancing. So as the realtor, you are going to be required to bring hand sanitizer and wipes. Okay. And there's no children allowed during the showings. And it's only going to be the people that are on the contract are going to be allowed in the property. So it's going to be the husband and the wife or whoever it is. And okay. It's only going to be allowed, I believe it said 3 people allowed in the property at one time. So you as the agent and then 2 other people. Still doing with social distancing. You'll be the only ones in the property. You'll schedule the showing same way through showing time and all that information. So nobody will be there at the property. And then when you're complete, you'll just be required to wipe everything down and to provide your clients with hand sanitizer.
Okay, awesome. Thank you.
No problem. So that is allowed. If you're in Iredell County or any of these other counties where you can still show property, right? That's the same case. So be sure you just kind of have to step it up a level with that, with your realtor kit. But as long as you do that and you stay 6 feet away and you're not having a whole bunch of people inside the property, you have to provide the correct number of people that are there, you're fine.
So I also have a question, actually.
Okay, good.
So we have, so as a buyer's agent, I've been able to get my first buyers under contract here in Iredell County. And I've handed off to the mortgage banker, and I've handed off to the attorney, I believe, all the information. But what is the next part of my job here? What is the next thing that I do?
Okay. Have you ordered the home inspection for your buyer yet?
They don't want one.
They don't want a home inspection.
They don't feel like they need one, I guess.
Okay. Now, I would just make sure that you do in that situation is one of the forms that's required as a buyer's agent is the professional services disclosure. So that states that just make sure that they initial that they don't want to have a home inspection, so that doesn't come back on you.
Okay.
Okay. If they don't want to do a home inspection, do they want to do any other property inspections? Like
they want to
survey?
Do a certified inspection, and they want to do a survey, but they don't feel like they need a home inspection just because the house is in such good shape and they've already crawled underneath it. So,
Okay. So on that professional services disclosure, there's a area for home inspection. There's an area for termite inspection. There's an area for survey. And whatever inspections that they want to do is what you should be putting on their list. So for those two items, contact a company and you should schedule those, a termite inspection and a survey. And have them sign that form saying I ordered these are the people that I suggest. Let's call and schedule the survey and the termite inspection, and then just initial here stating that we're not going to do a home inspection.
Okay.
So, any inspections that they want to do, you should line up and schedule. And then you said you already got it to the lender, so they're going to do the appraisal. So keep your eye out for that. And you already got it to the closing attorney, so they're going to begin the title. So you've done your job with that. So your job is to just ensure any inspections that the buyer wants to do, you have that done with the results prior to the end of the due diligence period.
Okay. All right. And then after that, I mean, we kind of just go to closing, or,
Correct. Yeah. You're going to, if there's no issues, or if there is, you'll work out any issues through due diligence. But right, if there's no issues, you're correct. You're just working towards the closing, ensuring that, again, that once the appraisal's done, then you stay up with the lender because it has to go through underwriting and get your final approval. And then once you get that, the attorney's doing their closing. You're on this. Make sure that you're on schedule with the attorney. Call them. Make sure you have the day and the time. Make sure that is scheduled so you're all working on they all have the deadline that you guys are all working towards.
Yep. They've all got that information. So.
Okay, good.
All right.
Well, then you're on top of things there, Mac.
Okay, good deal.
Would you also recommend that for new home construction as well, or no?
Okay, recommend what to do?
Would you do like an outside inspection from a third party on a new home construction?
Well, so now, I mean, I have seen some horror stories with new construction where, a home inspector went in and found some things that you would think wouldn't be done. Just like joists that are cut, or maybe something not as secured as it should be. Because it's a new construction, it looks pretty on the outside, nice shell, but if you look at a home inspector may have it trained to look at the bones of the property a little bit more. I mean, it is what it is. It's your job as the buyer's agent is to suggest that a buyer should do that, because you want to cover yourself as much another inspector to go out and look. So it's up to the buyer to make that decision if they want to or not. I mean, if you have a buyer that's a home inspector, I mean, it sounds like if Mac's buyer is crawling underneath the house and looking at the foundation, and someone that knows what they're looking at, and if you have a newer house, I mean, you can make the call on that. But you have a first-time home buyer, or as a buyer's agent, you should still suggest that they get a home inspection, whether it's new construction or not. Whether they do or not, you can have these intelligent conversations with them based on how what your buyer feels comfortable with. All right, what else? What are some hurdles that we have coming up that we've had? I mean, other than your typical stuff, having trouble meeting, what are people doing what are you guys doing for lead generation? Autumn, what are you doing for lead generation?
Nothing really. I haven't been doing hardly anything. I don't have my MLS yet, so there's not much going on here. Yeah,
okay. So the MLS is not granted you any access to. Okay, they are really, really behind. You're like the fifth or sixth person that said that.
It'll be okay. It'll all be fine one day soon, hopefully.
Yeah. Okay, I hear you. Callie, what are you up to?
Nothing right now. Just I'm still kind of waiting for the previous firm to release my two from a buyer agency that I talked to you about.
Yep. Did they end up calling?
They did. Well, one of them has. I haven't spoke with the other one. She said she would take care of it, and so I just kind of left her alone. The other ones are friends of ours, so we talk to them a lot. and they've called and they're just not getting a response. So it's kind of really kind of frustrating to deal with them, I guess.
Yeah, right. No doubt.
So just
Okay.
waiting on that to come. And I don't really know of any other lead generation. Maybe do you have any suggestions? At the old firm, we had leads that came in that, you know, the company provided.
They provided with, so what, where were those leads from? Maybe like, were they phone leads or what type of, were they
They were
internet leads?
more of that, the Home Partners, the rent to own program that Home Partners is that company. Have you ever heard of those?
Right. Okay.
So
All
those
right.
were the leads we kind of got, and any that we kind of knew on our own, but I've not really done anything on my own. Since coming to Keller, I've waited on these, and then everything kind of happened with the whole coronavirus, and kids are home, and it's kind
Yeah,
of
no, I hear you. Okay. Well-
slowed everything down, right?
Yeah, no, I hear you. I would suggest you to play around with a Facebook ad to
Okay.
do some, because you may be able to generate some leads that way.
Okay.
Especially if you have a $30 credit, it's not going to cost you anything. So if you can go on there and be specific on what you're trying to, who you're trying to lead generate to, meaning
Okay.
like age group or income group or in location. And you can spread that $30 out a certain amount per day. Maybe, I mean, I don't know what the best benefit. I would look at some videos and see where some good tips are for how long you should do it. But I would suggest try and do that. See if you can generate some online leads there. And you know, once things do get settled down, we are back in the office and you're back meeting people. You're gonna have to hit the ground running. So I know it's real tough now to do some things now, but if you can get as many internet leads that you can, those could turn into possible face-to-face appointments here when you're a month down the road.
Okay.
I think another thing that might be helpful if you're having trouble finding things or, you know, outlets to use is use your sphere of influence, check in on your family and your friends and just let them know that, hey, yeah, real estate's still going well. It's still happening. And just kind of keep that plug in people's ear that, you know, real estate's not dead. It's still happening. It's different. That's kind of what I've been telling people. I met one of the owners from Kilwin's Ice Cream up in Burkdale. I played golf with him 2 weeks ago before this whole thing got crazier. But he told me to stop in, bring a couple business cards, drop off in their little business card selection. So things are still happening and things are still moving. That's just how I've been doing it. Just letting people know that things are still happening. It's just a little different right now.
Okay.
Kyle, I like it. Awesome. I mean, you've heard a lot of people say, you know, the market, we're going to have a hit. The market's going to take a downturn similar to in 2008. And so what happened in 2008, though, the market took a crash because no one could get a mortgage and property values were plummeted. And so back in 2008, I was in business and I was a younger kid, just kind of really, the only thing that I really did was just call for sale by owners. And the reason why I was able to list so many of them, because what makes people list right now is fear. And so in 2008, people were feared that, oh boy, my house is worth 300 last year and now it's only worth 150. Well, now in this type of market, people are going to be fearful. Well, I might not have my job next month, or I don't think I might not be able to pay for my mortgage. So, I mean, you can still do some virtual for sale by owner showings, but that's the biggest thing with for sale by owners. They would go for sale by owner because they wanted to try and save a commission. They just had to sell the house because they were fearful that they weren't going to be able to afford it or they couldn't make their payment or something. So I would still say for sale by owners are still a really good source of people to call, and you can still try and do virtual appointments and you're going to have to be tech savvy. However, I still think that they're a good source. And if you look on Zillow and search for sale by owners, all their phone numbers are there. Last week I looked, there was 56 of them in Iredell County. So that's a lot of people just in the last month. You can still try. I would still lead generate for sale by owners, and I would lead generate, like what Kyle said, through your sphere of influence. If you don't, calling them, letting them know what's going on, you're still here, business is still going on. You could really just tell them, hey, how about that? Call your sphere of influence. Say, hey, they just created an addendum that's going to protect the buyer with so they can do an on-site preview no matter where they're at. Just a conversation piece where you can bring up where some value that you have that addendum, and bring that as part of your conversation if real estate's still going on. All right, anybody else have any other questions? Any other issues or any other topics that we want to go over?
How do you raise a baby?
Good luck.
How do I do this?
They're all
Oh
different.
boy.
You'll figure it out.
Good luck, right?
Just like in real estate, you're going to learn the hard way. You're going to learn what to do and what not to do. Well, that's cool. All right. Well, everybody have a good afternoon. Team meeting here is on at 11 with PJ. And hey, Kyle, again, congratulations to Finley. That's an amazing story. We're really happy for you.
We're yeah, I can't wait. Once this all clears up, I'm going to bring her into the office for sure. So
Absolutely.
I'm super excited.
I'm happy for
Cool,
you.
good stuff.
Thanks, guys.
All right, everybody. Have a good rest of the morning. We'll talk to you later.
You too.
Later.
Thanks. Bye.
Thanks, guys.